The Midnight Feed. The old farmhouse stood on a skeletal frame of rotting timber and faded paint, a lonely silhouette against the bruised purple of the twilight sky. Inside, Leo wrestled with a screaming infant and a growing sense of dread. His wife, Clara, was in the city, her mother having taken a sudden turn. That left Leo alone with 6-month-old Maya in a house that seemed to groan in protest against the encroaching night. He'd always found the silence of the countryside unnerving, a stark contrast to the familiar city symphony. Here, the silence was a living thing, punctuated by the frantic cries of his daughter. He checked her diaper for the 3rd time, the plastic crinkling loudly in the quiet room. Clean. He tried the bottle again. She turned her head, her tiny face red and contorted. "Come on, Maya," he pleaded, his voice hoarse with fatigue. "Just a little bit." As if in response, a floorboard creaked upstairs. Leo froze, his heart a frantic drum against his ribs. It was an old house, he reminded himself. It was bound to make noises. He'd been telling himself that for the past hour, ever since the sun had dipped below the horizon and the shadows in the corners of the rooms began to lengthen and writhe. He rocked Maya, his movements becoming more frantic as her cries intensified. He paced the length of the living room, the worn floorboards sighing under his weight. The air grew thick and heavy, charged with an unseen energy. Another creak from upstairs, louder this time, a slow, deliberate sound, like a footstep. "Hello?" he called out, his voice trembling slightly. The only answer was Maya's wailing. He had to get a grip. It was just the house, settling, just the wind. He took a deep breath, the air tasting stale and metallic. He decided to take Maya upstairs to her nursery, hoping the familiar surroundings might soothe her. As he climbed the narrow staircase, the wood groaning under his feet, the feeling of being watched intensified. The air grew colder with each step, a stark contrast to the sweltering heat of the summer evening. The nursery was at the end of the hall, its door slightly ajar. He pushed it open and stepped inside, the room bathed in the pale, milky light of the moon filtering through the window. He laid Maya in her crib, her cries momentarily softening to a whimper. He stood over her, his hand resting on her tiny chest, feeling the frantic beat of her heart. The house was silent now, a heavy, expectant stillness that was more terrifying than the creaks and groans. Then he heard it, a soft, rhythmic sound from the corner of the room. Thump, thump, thump. His gaze was drawn to the old rocking chair that had belonged to Clara's grandmother. It was moving, rocking back and forth on its own, its ancient wood creaking in a steady, hypnotic rhythm. Leo's blood ran cold. He stared, mesmerized, as the chair continued its ghostly dance. He snatched Maya from the crib, her renewed screams a welcome break to the oppressive silence. He backed away from the rocking chair, his eyes wide with terror. He fumbled for his phone, his fingers clumsy and numb. He had to call Clara. He had to get them out of there. As he backed out of the room, he heard a new sound, a soft, wet, smacking sound. It was coming from downstairs. It sounded like someone eating, ravenously. His heart hammered against his ribs as he crept down the stairs, Maya clutched tightly in his arms. The smacking grew louder, accompanied by a low, guttural growl. He peered into the kitchen, his body trembling. The refrigerator door was open, its contents strewn across the floor. In the center of the mess knelt a figure, its back to him. It was rail thin, its skin the color of old parchment, stretched taut over a skeletal frame. It was hunched over a package of raw meat, tearing at it with long yellow teeth, the sound of its feeding echoing in the silent house. Leo let out a small, strangled gasp. The creature's head snapped around, its eyes 2 black, bottomless pits locking onto his. A low, guttural growl rumbled in its chest, a sound of pure, primal hunger. He didn't wait to see what would happen next. He turned and fled, bursting out the front door into the night. He ran without stopping, his lungs burning, Maya's cries a frantic counterpoint to the pounding of his own heart. He didn't look back, but he could feel the creature's presence behind him, a cold, dark void that promised a fate worse than death. He ran until the old farmhouse was just a distant, dark shape against the moonlit sky, its secrets and its hunger left behind in the suffocating silence of the night.